It was too powerful, too fast, too dangerous. The authorities said it was a threat to public safety. The newspapers called it reckless. The government banned it. But the engineers who built it knew something the world didn't. Because this wasn't just another steam engine. It was a glimpse of the future, a machine so far ahead of its time that it scared the people in charge. And even though it was outlawed, even though it was forced off the rails, the ideas behind it would go on to change railways forever. This is the story of the steam engine that was banned, but changed everything. Let's set the scene. The early 1800s, the dawn of the railway age. Steam power is new, untested, and a little bit terrifying. Most people have never seen a train, let alone ridden one. The fastest thing on land is a galloping horse. The idea that a machine could move faster than that. It sounds like science fiction. But in England, a handful of engineers are racing to build the first practical steam locomotive. George Stephenson, Richard Trevithick, Timothy Hackworth, and then in 1815, a man named William Hedley builds a locomotive called Puffing Billy. It's slow, heavy, and barely faster than walking, but it works. And suddenly, the world is paying attention. Within a decade, railways are spreading across Britain. The Stockton and Darlington Railway opens in 1825, the first public railway to use steam locomotives. The Liverpool and Manchester Railway follows in 1830 with Stephenson's rocket leading the way. Trains are getting faster, more reliable, more powerful, but they're still limited by one thing, the technology of the time. Enter Timothy Hackworth and the Royal George. In 1827, Hackworth builds a locomotive for the Stockton and Darlington Railway that's more powerful than anything before it. It's a breakthrough, but it's not the engine that gets banned. That comes a few years later in the form of a machine so radical, so ahead of its time, that it would shake the foundations of railway engineering. The year is 1837. The place, England's Great Western Railway. The engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel, one of the greatest minds of the 19th century. Brunel has a vision, a railway that's faster, smoother, and more comfortable than anything in existence. To do it, he needs a new kind of locomotive. Something bigger, something bolder, something that will break all the rules. Brunel commissions a locomotive from Daniel Gooch, his chief mechanical engineer. The result is the North Star, a broad gauge engine designed to run on Brunel's revolutionary 7-foot gauge track. The North Star is fast, capable of speeds over 60 miles per hour, unheard of at the time. It's smooth, stable, and powerful. But it's not the North Star that gets banned. The real trouble starts with a different engine, the Great Western. Built in 1846, the Great Western is a monster. It's longer, heavier, and more powerful than any locomotive before it. It's designed to haul express trains at high speed over long distances. And it does, spectacularly. The Great Western sets speed records, hauls massive loads, and proves that Brunel's broad gauge is the future. But there's a problem. The Great Western is so powerful, so fast, that it starts to scare people. The authorities worry about safety. The newspapers run stories about the dangers of high-speed travel. Passengers complain about the speed, the noise, the vibration. And then, in 1848, disaster strikes. The Great Western derails at high speed, killing several passengers. The public is outraged. The government steps in. In the aftermath, the British Board of Trade launches an investigation. They conclude that the Great Western and other broad gauge engines like it are too dangerous. The speed is too high. The weight is too great. The risk of derailment is unacceptable. The government issues new regulations, effectively banning the use of such powerful engines on public railways. The Great Western is sidelined. Brunel's vision is under attack. But here's the twist. The ban doesn't kill the ideas behind the Great Western. It spreads them. Engineers across Europe and America study the design. They see the potential for high-speed, long-distance travel. They realize that the future of railways isn't in small, slow engines, but in big, powerful ones. The very thing that got the Great Western banned becomes the blueprint for the next generation of locomotives. If you're enjoying this story of forbidden innovation, do me a favor and hit that like button right now and subscribe, because we've got more tales of railway rebels and engineering breakthroughs coming your way. Trust me, the second half of this story is even more surprising. So what happened next? The ban on powerful steam engines didn't last. Technology caught up, track design improved, braking systems got better, engineers learned how to build safer, stronger railways, and within a decade, the speeds that once seemed reckless became the new normal. But the legacy of the Great Western and the other banned engines was bigger than just speed. They changed the way engineers thought about locomotives. They proved that bigger boilers, higher pressures, and more powerful engines were possible. They inspired a wave of innovation that led to the giants of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The American 484s, the British Pacifics, the German Kriegslocks, the Russian Victory class, and the lessons learned from the Great Western's failure shaped the future of railway safety. Engineers realized that power alone wasn't enough. You needed better tracks, better brakes, better signaling. You needed to think about the whole system, not just the locomotive. The ban forced the industry to innovate, not just in building bigger engines, but in building better railways. But the story doesn't end there, because the idea of banning technology that's too advanced is a recurring theme in railway history. In the early 20th century, the Pennsylvania Railroad's S1 was so big and so powerful that it broke the tracks it ran on. In the Soviet Union, the AA-20 was so massive that it was quickly retired after damaging the rails. In South Africa, the giant Garrett locomotives had to run at reduced speeds to avoid tearing up the track. Each time, the lesson was the same. Pushing the limits of technology is risky. Sometimes you go too far. Sometimes the world isn't ready for what you've built. But each time, the ideas behind those banned or failed machines end up changing the industry. They force engineers to think differently, to innovate, to build something better. So why don't we talk about the Great Western and the other banned engines? Why do we remember the Rocket, the Mallard, the Big Boy, but not the machines that were too advanced for their time? Part of it is the way history is written. We like stories of success, of triumph, of progress. We don't like stories of failure, of caution, of things that went too far. But the truth is, the failures are just as important as the successes. The banned engines, the broken tracks, the disasters, they're the moments when the industry learned what was possible and what wasn't. And part of it is that the legacy of these engines is hidden. You can't see it in a museum. You can't ride it on a heritage railway. But it's there in every modern locomotive, in every high-speed train, in every safety system. The lessons learned from the banned engines are built into the DNA of the railways we use today. Let's look at a few more examples of banned or too advanced steam engines that changed everything. The Pennsylvania Railroad S1. As mentioned earlier, this 6446 behemoth was so long and heavy that it could only run on a handful of straight, reinforced tracks. Its power was unmatched, but it was simply too much for the infrastructure of its time. Yet, the S1's innovations in streamlining, high-speed running gear, and boiler design influenced generations of American locomotives. The Soviet AA-20, the only 414-4 ever built, it was a technical marvel but a practical disaster. Its sheer weight and length made it unmanageable on Soviet tracks. But the lessons learned from its failure informed the design of more practical, powerful Soviet engines that followed. The South African Garretts. These articulated giants were designed to haul massive loads over light, winding track. But their weight and power often exceeded what the rails could handle. The solution? Spread the weight, use more axles, and design tracks and bridges to higher standards. The Garrett concept influenced heavy-haul railways around the world. The British Leader Project. In the late 1940s, British Railways tried to build a modern, enclosed steam locomotive that could compete with diesels. The Leader was radical, fully enclosed, double-ended with a central cab, but it was plagued by technical problems and was quickly abandoned. Yet its ideas about crew comfort, maintenance, and modular design foreshadowed the diesel and electric locomotives that would soon dominate. All of these engines were, in some sense, banned, either by official decree, by practical necessity, or by the limits of their time. But all of them changed the industry. They showed what was possible. They forced engineers to innovate, and they paved the way for the trains we have today. So what's the real lesson of the steam engine that was banned but changed everything? It's that progress isn't always a straight line. Sometimes you have to go too far to find out where the limits are. Sometimes you have to build something that fails to learn how to build something that succeeds. And sometimes the most important innovations come from the machines that didn't last. Today, the legacy of these banned engines lives on in every high-speed train, in every powerful freight locomotive, in every safety system that keeps passengers safe. The ideas that got the Great Western and its kin banned are now standard practice. Bigger boilers, higher pressures, better brakes, smarter design. The world caught up to the visionaries who built those engines and then went even further. So here's my question for you. If you could see one of these banned steam engines in action, which would it be? The Great Western, the S1, the AA20, or one of the others? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this look at the steam engine that was banned but changed everything, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got more stories of railway rebels, engineering marvels, and near misses coming your way. Until next time, remember, sometimes the only way to change the world is to build something the world isn't ready for.